Welcome to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway at the start of the most exciting, the most thrilling 3 weeks on the motorsport calendar. And first and foremost, we have the Indianapolis road course, the Sonsio Grand Prix, live here on Fox. Welcome to IMS. I am Will Buxton. He is Townsend Bell. He is James Hinchcliffe. Guys, it is great to be back at the capital of the racing world.
We are back in the big house, and it feels fantastic. Weather perfect today. A little bit of wind coming out of the east, but this is road course practice. Wind, not such a big deal here. But for this entire field, the question is, what you gonna do about this championship? Because Alex Palou scattering off into the distance with authority right now. James, what are they gonna do?
Well, they're gonna get to work here, and the big challenge here with the GP guys is putting the 500 out of your mind. It's something you think about from January 1st. It's something you really think about from May 1st. We're here at the Speedway, and you have to try to forget about it for these 2 days. Focus on the practice and qualifying coming up today, and then obviously the Grand Prix tomorrow. And how do you track down Alex Palou?
How indeed. Well, we begin here with practice. We had a slight change last time out in Bar, but that continues to this weekend. 40 minutes practice for all cars, followed by a 5-minute break. Then the groups divided as they have been, with a 12-minute now section for each of those rookies being able to run in both of those final groups. But the guys have already asked the question. It's a question being asked up and down this pit lane. How does anyone hold a candle to the man who's won 3 in 4? New livery this weekend, courtesy of Fresh Connect for Marcus Ericsson at Andretti. Difficult run for him last time out. A season that started so well has just fallen off a little bit over the last couple of races, but hoping to get back to competitive ways here this weekend. Up to the top. That is where the alternate line is before these last couple of corners in the sequence, and the pit in on your right-hand side, just there.
This is a track where Marcus Ericsson has had a lot of success, but going the other way down the front straightaway, the road course has kind of eluded him. No podiums here. Last 3 races, 8th, 10th, and 16th, as there's a huge left front lockup as Marcus Ericsson challenges the brake zone in turn 1.
A replay of one of the premies. I think it looks like Schwartzman through turn 1, and just all arms and elbows catching it and running off. Everybody on the hard tires. And guys, we're expecting everybody to run on the hard tires in this practice session. New rules this weekend, a trial this weekend. New rules as to how many tires of which particular compound you have to run in the race. Run it through us.
Well,
Jack.
first of all, you've got a different number of tires, period. You can see the 5 sets of hards down to 4 sets of soft tires for the weekend. That's one slight adjustment from a normal weekend. That's actually standard for this weekend, a 2-day show here at the IndyGP. But the big difference is what you see at the bottom there. 2 sets of each tire must be used in the race. As we take a look there at Nolan Siegel, there's clearly a big bump there on the straight heading into turn 1 that's catching some of these drivers out with those left front locks. You see the front of the car bounce, unweights the car and locks the tire. But it goes to the, this tire rule that we're talking about. It is going to change the complexity, not just of the race, but of practice. Up to this point in the season, how it's worked is you've had 1 set of the soft tires that you had to run in first practice. Well, I guess you didn't have to run it, but you had to give it back. You couldn't run it again until warm-up. Now, with only 4 sets, they've removed that rule, so drivers can use them or not, basically whenever they want throughout the weekend. And what we're hearing is we might see drivers saving those reds, those soft tires, for qualifying and for the race. And we might not see any use of them in practice at all. We're seeing a little bit of a scuff mark there, I believe, on the 28 of
That
Marcus Ericsson.
White-walled from the white wall as Marcus Ericsson.
Yikes.
Pretty heavy angle there, but I gotta say that this early in the morning, you can see the sun hitting his windscreen.
It's behind him right there, but
yeah.
It's one of those things, guys, as a driver from inside the cockpit, you're already looking at the apex curb of turn 12 as you approach the brake zone there. We've seen cars brush the wall there on the left many times on entry.
It is Simpson, fastest driver so far, Kiffin Simpson, who's had a real couple of standout races the last 2 contests that he's been in. Then Ferrucci, Siegel, Herta, and Kirkwood. Will Power, all arms and elbows. Coming through here, a track that he loves. A winner no fewer than 5 times around this circuit, has been on pole, surprise, surprise, more than any other driver in history here. 6 pole positions for Will Power. He adores this track.
Well, let's see if we can go back on board and see how he does it and ride along with the Verizon driver. Like a pretty tidy lap. Good enough for P8 so far.
Like you say, Power, this last corner, 14, it is so tricky. You're balancing it on the edge. It's flat out, but just one of the things that's cool about Power, we talk about the hybrid system on these cars. Watch right here. You're going to see a little yellow light, I think, on the brakes there. That's an indication for Will that his hybrid system is charging. And anytime that he's off throttle on the brakes, you're going to see that yellow light. He's powering that hybrid system up. And then out of 4 here, watch those yellow lights. They're going to become green. That means he has hit the deployment button, and all the way down this back straight, he's burning some of those kilojoules, trying to get that hybrid system to give him that boost down the straight. Every driver having a little bit of a different layout, a little bit of a different system, different preferences, but I think Will's is really cool, really intuitive. I like how he's got it done.
I didn't see Will use his thumbs at all for deployment, so maybe it's trigger on the back, which is how I would prefer it. It just seems ergonomically a little bit better to keep the grip on the wheel. Meanwhile, I understand that Graham Rahal might have left the circuit.
His teammate, Devin DeFrancesco. And a replay here of Graham just running a little wide as we come into that turn 12, 13, 14 complex. Easy to do, particularly in this early morning light where it is still, I've got to say, bitter out there. It's freezing. Practice and qualifying as Jacob Abel just runs off there, facing the wrong way, but he'll get himself going again. Yeah,
it's off of turn 10 on the exit there. Easy to do. Again, that's kind of an increasing radius on the exit, and you really push the limits there out of 10 to try to get this good run through 11 into 12 here, third longest straight on the track. And just got it wrong, but was able to keep going. We have a car stop. That's Rinus VK.
And he'd only just left to go and try and set a lap. He's only got 1 lap on the board.
That's out of turn 6 on the back straight there.
That'll be red, I'm sure.
Yeah, there it is. You see the indication, top of the pylon.
Jack, issues for the number 2.
Actually, it wasn't just on the 2. It was actually a team-wide network and telemetry issue. I just asked Tim Cindric, Joseph's strategist, and said, is that something that you have sorted? And he said, sorted enough to run now. Ooh. So not totally sure what that problem is or what the remedy is, but they're confident they can get laps in.
Well, that's positive-ish.
Yeah, the cars generally aren't allowed to run if the team's not able to get telemetry. They need to be able to keep an eye on all the different parameters. So if the car's not talking to the pit stand, they'll have to keep it parked. So when Tim says enough to run for now, it's getting just enough information back to the pits, but maybe not everything that they want, operating as they want. You see Josef going slowly through here, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to set up getting on the power right there out of turn 10 to start your lap. That all-start finish line, boom, right there. But that's also one of the challenges of this racetrack. You come out of the pits, you're already in turn 2. You go through 3, which is a kink. You go through turn 4, 5 and 6, not really corners. And then through 7 and 8, we're talking 4 real corners to try to get the tires up to temperature before that first quote-unquote flyer lap where you're getting on the power out of 10. So with temperatures this cool, I'm very much expecting these prep laps to be crucial in qualifying, because you're not going to be able to do it in 1 lap. You just don't have enough time to get the temp in the tires.
So 3 minutes to go in this practice before we split into the 2 groups. Anybody want to put any money on whether or not anybody will run the soft tire?
I'm gonna vote no. I think some of the no, because even the drivers further back in the field, maybe guys not expecting to make it into the Firestone Fast 6, they traditionally go red in qualifying. You don't want to burn an extra set, I don't think.
We've seen lots of lockups, as we might be seeing another one here.
Nolan Siegel just taking the MotoGP runoff, as we call it, as that used to be part of the MotoGP track.
But James, the front straightaway, you have so long to think about it.
And that's always something that's bad for racing drivers. Giving them time to think is a bad thing. There are brake markers on the side that are great reference points, but at the end of the day, you're doing 185 miles an hour heading into turn 1. If you just brake a fraction of a second later, that's 20, 30, 40 feet. You're covering a tremendous amount of distance in a very short period of time. So having the consistency to nail that same brake point every single time, you're going all the way down to 64 miles an hour. So you're shedding off a tremendous amount of speed.
Santino Ferrucci, he sits on pit lane where he sat before that session ended as well. He's having a gearing issue. He was in neutral, couldn't get into first on the pit lane, so they are diagnosing that issue right now.
Siegel P4, Foster P5 as it stands. But that's a big couple of laps from Palou and O'Ward, taking 7/10 out of the best time from the first session. And there is Callum Ilott going way deep.
He's getting it wrong in 7, deciding, I don't need to do 8 or 9. I'm just going to join back on in between 9 and 10 here.
Helping the groundskeepers out.
But again,
cutting the lawn.
You can do that here because the grass is so smooth.
Stops in the wrong, but he's not having a lap, is he?
How did he stop in an ECR box?
Let's forget the last 2 minutes, I think.
No, I'm just thinking about colors. Couldn't be any more different between the two. As Rasmussen's team waves Callum Ilott through. So let's listen to some radio here.
Massive big corner under here, but I can't do anything. I can't go in deeper because of the rear, and then I have this huge under center. 10-4.
This is the classic IndyCar complaint. You're rear limited on entry. That's meaning the back of the car is wanting to kind of pass you as you start to turn in on the brakes. But then once you're off the brakes, mid-corner transition to the throttle, the rear squats down, the front picks up, and you have a ton of mid-corner understeer. Loose in, push off. That is a quintessential IndyCar balance. And one of the big challenges for these engineers is how to make the car a little bit more connected from corner entry to corner exit.
And one of the most frustrating things is to experience that as a driver, sit on pit lane, have the team put the iPad right into the cockpit, watch onboard video live on Fox Sports and be like, I just want to, like what McLaughlin's car does,
yeah.
Like look at what he's able to do, why can't we do that? As Team Penske, easily the strongest team here over the last 16 races at the Indy road course, poles, wins from just about everyone, and for Scott McLaughlin, the best of the Team Penske drivers so far this season. He sits 5th in the championship. His teammate Will Power and Newgarden, they sit 9th and 11th right now. Scotty Mack leading the charge.
And VK finally out and spins, not having the day out there. VK, who's had fastest laps here, he's had pole positions here. Critically, of course, he had his first ever race win here, but trying to catch up time and just pushing too far.
Now his teammate Jacob Abel unveiled a beautiful Danny Sullivan spin and win livery. Is there something to that move right there where they're working? This is part of the promotion with Dale Coyne Racing. It's been 40 years since Danny spun and won right in this exact part of the racetrack, except running the other direction, as VK challenging the grip.
Nice catch, though.
It's so tough. I mean, he's coming off an absolutely phenomenal weekend at Barber for him and this team. And you come here, your expectations are high, your confidence is high.
Rinus VeeKay was thrown challenge after challenge during that practice session, lost a lot of lap time and track time there. What was the original diagnosis with the 18 car?
Yeah, we're not totally sure 100% what the issue is, but I am confident that this crew, the 18 crew, will find the issue and get me up and running and back to quick speeds by practice too.
Once you got out there, you spun. The good news here, you've won here at the Indy Road Course and a 4th coming off Barber. So what's your confidence level going forward the rest of today? It's a busy day.
Yeah, confidence is high. well, we do have little time, but yeah, I did get a few laps out there. I was pushing hard, trying to expose the car, see what was going on. So we still need to work on the car to get it into a better window. But no, I kind of found something, and I think we can move forward at least. At least with this little laps, we can still gain.
Thanks. Right, as we see Foster, he's just coming back onto the racetrack, using that turn 1 runoff. We'll get a look at it here, but yeah, to your point, Will, I think what's interesting is different cars, different drivers will prefer tires at a different time or different types of tires, so we are going to see some variation there.
I think where it's going to be interesting in qualifying is what happens in round 2. Let's take a Graham Rahal that might say, hey, maybe we're not a fast 6 car, but let's throw 2 sets of sticker reds at round 2 in qualifying, and then getting himself up in the field, but then being a little bit exposed or vulnerable in the race and mixing it up with some of the other cars that are more race focused.
One of the things about this racetrack, guys, is we went through a period of a lot of races here in a year. As down in turn 12, once again, Felix Rosenqvist getting it sideways through the grass. But we had double headers, we had multiple appearances here. Through COVID, we had to run here quite a few times. This is a track that the teams and drivers have a lot of laps at. And what that means is everybody gets pretty dialed in, and when we get to qualifying, the margins here are minute. It is so tight here in qualifying traditionally. If you make a little mistake, if you have that little lock up into 1, into 7, it can be day over in qualifying. As our fast man for Group 2 with the checkered flag having fallen already is this guy here, Alex Rossi.
There's Rossi, Rahal, Herter, All-American top 3, Will Power, Connor Daly rounding out the 5, then Rosenqvist, Foster, Simpson, Lundgaard, and Dixon rounding out the top 10. But there is your top man, and it's the guy who had the clean sweep last time out at Barber. Alex Palou fastest, the only driver in the 1:09s. Then Simpson, Foster, Ferrucci, Siegel, Lundgaard, O'Ward, Kirkwood, Rossi, and Herter.